Hey guys, Spencer here, and I have the awesome honor and privilege to serve as an associate pastor here at the Anchor of Beaumont, and I just want to share with you a thought real quick about turning back to God. So I'm here at my house during this crazy time of quarantine and social distancing, and this is my spot here at my kitchen table where I usually set up camp and begin to kind of just study in the Word. Especially now, I really like to go and study at coffee shops or in town, but this is my corner here at the house that I love to sit and set up shop and study. And I've been currently studying through the book of Jeremiah. I was looking at a few different passages, and I keep noticing these patterns and these themes. I wanted to bring up real quick behind the scenes that Jeremiah, God commissions and calls Jeremiah to be a prophet to the people of Israel and the people of Judah. And the messages that God commissioned him to speak, the prophecies, for the most part, were not good prophecies, in the sense that they were more prophecies of coming judgment, that there was judgment that was coming to the land of Israel. And so a lot of it has to do with Jeremiah speaking a message that really was not very popular with the people at the time, because he was telling them the truth, and many times truth can come across as hate to those who hate the truth. And so he begins to declare the word of God to them. And one verse I'd like to focus on is Jeremiah chapter 2 and verse 13. And here Jeremiah says, "For my people have committed two evils." He says, the first one, he says, "They have forsaken me." He's speaking for God here. He's saying, "They have forsaken me, the fountain of living waters." And this immediately caught my eye because to my knowledge, this is the first time that this wording, the phrasing of living waters is used in scriptures, at least the first time that I found. But the theme, the topic, that wording, the phrasing of living waters is a reoccurring theme throughout Scripture. It's even Jesus in John chapter 4, when he's sitting down at a well speaking to a woman, drawing water out of a well. Jesus makes a statement. He says, "If you drink of the water I can give, you will never thirst again." And even John chapter 7, at the feast, the festival there, where they're all partaking of drink, and he stands up and cries, "If any man thirsts, let him come unto me and drink." And there's places where he says, "Out of your bellies shall flow rivers of living water." He's talking about his spirit being related to water, but not just any water, but a living water, a water that is alive. And so God says, "I am a living water." He says, "But you've turned from me. You've turned from my spirit. You've turned from the water that I can give." And he says, that's the first sin that you've committed, is you have turned from me. And he says, the second sin that you've committed is not only have you turned from me, the fountain of true living water, he says you have hewed out cisterns, broken cisterns that can hold no water. And so a cistern would, be something that was built or constructed in order to contain water for whatever purpose. And he's saying, not only have you turned from me, the living water, you've turned to things that can't hold water. And it's an expression we still use today. When we say, "Oh, your argument can't even hold water." It's an expression that we use because what good is a container constructed to contain water if it can't even hold water? If it's got a crack, if it's got a leak, it doesn't matter how elegant it is. Even if it leaks water, it serves as no purpose, right? And I think one thing that's crazy about this time with the COVID-19, with the virus spreading, is it's showing things, it's revealing us things in our culture that can't hold water, things that we have turned to that are shakeable. Hebrews says there come a time where everything that can be shaken will be shaken, but that which can't be shaken will remain. And this is what God is saying. He's saying, you've turned from me, the true source of life, the true source of water, and you've turned to other things that can't even hold water. And so this is a reoccurring theme throughout the book of Jeremiah. He's saying, you have turned to other things besides me. And there is actually a term that's used over and over and over again throughout the book of Jeremiah. And it's a term that old-time Christians would use. And it's a term called backsliding. And from Jeremiah is where this term kind of entered its way into the church. It's used over and over again. Jeremiah is saying, you have backslid. You have, and if you actually look this word up about what this word actually means, he's saying you have turned away from God. You've really put God to your back and you're now facing other things. You're looking towards other things that are not God and are not the living water. And he's saying you have backslidden. You've turned from me. And so you see this reoccurring theme over and over again throughout the book of Jeremiah. And he's saying you have turned from God, but God is now calling you to turn back to Him. He's saying, turn back to me. Return to me. And see, the awesome thing about God is that He really doesn't care what you've done, how long you've done it, or who you've done it with. There's something about the heart and the character of God. He is so rich in love and He is so bountiful in mercies that as soon as you make a turn back to Him, He welcomes you back with open arms. It's an incredible, incredible thing that many times it's hard to wrap our mind around the abundance of love and mercy that God has for us to take us back and forgive us over and over again. And so God is calling the people. He's saying, return back to me. God will always, always prefer to choose to extend mercy than choose to extend judgment. That's always God's preference. God in Jeremiah chapter 3 says, I want you to turn back to me, and I'm not only going to forgive what you've done, I'm also going to heal the effects of what you've done, the harmful effects of what you've done in your life. He's saying, turn back to me. I'm the source of true life. I'm the source of true joy. And so you see, this is a reoccurring theme throughout this book. And in Jeremiah chapter 4, he calls out to the people. He says, return back to me. You've turned from me. Now turn back to me and watch what I will do. And I believe it's always God's desire that the people of God be blessed and live blessed lives, because God actually gets more glory to His name for His name's sake when the people of God are blessed. But the thing about God is that God can only bless things that reflect His character. And so God is saying, if you turn back to me and you put yourself in alignment with my character, you put yourself in alignment with my nature, with who I am, with my identity, then therefore you will open up a channel of blessing that you have not experienced up to this point, because now you're in alignment with me. And when you're in alignment with me, I can bless you because you are now a representation of my character in the earth. He says, if I bless you, then all the nations of the world are going to be blessed because of you. The reason God desires to bless the people of God is because the entire world benefits from it. The whole entire world is benefited from you turning back to God. God is saying, all right, you've allowed your heart to become hard. You've allowed your heart to become hard to me, but it's time for you to break up that hard ground in the soil of your heart. Let your heart become soft again. Let your heart become tender again towards me. I'm calling out to you. I'm crying out to you. And then I love in verse 4, he says, now circumcise your hearts to God. See, because the Jewish people were people who were literally physically circumcised in their body. There was a cutting away of the flesh in their physical body. And God's saying, now you've got it all right on the outside, but I'm asking you, I'm calling out to you, I'm crying out to you. I want you to get it right on the inside of your heart. Yeah, you're circumcised on the outside. That's great. That's good. But now I'm calling you to circumcise your heart. Cut away the filthy things in your heart. Cut away the wicked things in your inward man. From your inward man, God is crying out to you saying, I'm after your heart. It's like when Jesus spoke to the Pharisees and he says, you got it all right here in the words. You're speaking the right words and you've got it all right on the outward appearance, but your hearts are far from me. And on the inside, you are full of dead man's bones. And throughout all this craziness with the virus, there is a God that is calling to his people, and he's saying, you have turned from me, the source of true living water, and you've turned to things that can't even hold water, that are broken, that are corrupt, that are breakable, that are shakeable. And he's saying, now it's time to turn from those things and turn back to me. And when there is a turning of the people of God back to the things of God, it opens a channel of blessings. It opens a channel of prosperity, maybe not even just financial prosperity, but a spiritual dominance in the earth, because now the people of God have become true representatives of God's heart and of God's character. And when that happens, the entire earth will benefit. The entire world will benefit from the people of God. So God is crying out. God is saying, hey, yes, you've turned to other things, but he's saying, now's your chance. Now's your opportunity. I've freed up your schedule and I've given you time to sit and think. And I want you to think about me. And I want you to think about turning back to me. God not only wants to forgive what you've done, he wants to heal. God can restore you. God can renew you. You haven't done too much. You haven't gone too far. You haven't been gone too long. He is rich in love. He's rich in mercy. And he is calling out to you right now. He's saying, come back to me. Turn back to me. Thank you so much for watching, for taking the time to watch this video. I hope that you're blessed because of it. And if you're having a hard time, if you're struggling right now, do not hesitate to reach out to the staff here at the Anchor, the pastoral team. Would love to connect with you and would love to talk with you, to speak to you about whatever God's dealing with you in your heart, and take time and pray with you. And God bless you. Hope you have a great rest of your day. Thanks again for watching.